I was fueling an addiction, really, like, I mean, I
Right.
didn't do things that were in alignment for who I am or what I wanted or a spiritual connection. None of that stuff was even on my radar. I was surviving.
Welcome to Collective Guidance with your host, Charla Goodnight. This is a space where we come together to share wisdom, stories, and insights from thought leaders and everyday humans alike. Here, you'll find conversations on spirituality, health, wellness, parenting, and the human experience, all designed to remind you that you are not alone and that we are all connected. Let's step into the guidance we can only find together. Welcome to Collective Guidance with your host, Charla Goodnight. I am so thrilled to have you joining me on this very interesting topic we're about to explore. Today, I have this phenomenal woman here that I took her course, the Renaissance Woman, back in, I think it was 2022. And it was quite life-changing. It really put a lot of things in perspective for me. And I am thrilled to have her here with us today. Her name is Erin Fenske. Erin Fenske is a mother, a healer, mentor, and artist who creates a safe space for her community to explore, become more vulnerable, and come home to their body. Erin, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Sensuality versus Sexuality.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here with you.
So let's dive in. Tell me your journey of when did you discover the difference between sensuality and sexuality?
I think there's like different tiers to that answer. There's different layers to that. But I think really I got sober in 2017. And I think that marks the beginning of like my journey in like a linear way. But from that point, it goes backwards and forwards in time and doesn't stay on that like even trajectory, because I think it was at that moment that I just became aware, like aware of how I felt in my body, aware of how I wanted to present in the world, of how I didn't want to present in the world, of how out of alignment I was, how I didn't have like a spiritual connection to like really complete that whole mind, body, soul sort of all encompassing, vision of myself. And so I think from there, it took like several years down there because, right, you get sober, everything was so raw and uncomfortable. I wasn't about to like open up new uncomfortable elements to explore. But once I got comfortable in that space, then I was able to start on this journey of what I call coming home to my body. And I use different modalities to be able to do that. Movement and dance. Dance is probably number one on that list for me, where I could really like, I had to face insecurities of looking stupid or, like worrying I was not capable of something, or just kind of come to terms with all of that and confront all of that so that I could push those limits and move beyond that piece. And then from there, it kind of opened up this whole new dynamic of like what I can do to like to continue on in that journey. Like at this point, I like went to school. I have a art, like a degree in photography and women's studies and drawing. But I really feel like the shift that I've made within the last 7, 8, 9 years is really that the way that I create and make art is with my body. So I really shifted into that space where it was like sparking this creativity, this passion, and it was fueling the way that I felt inspired in new ways.
And all of that happened because you became sober, or?
I think that was the catalyst for how I was allowed to move with intention.
Yeah.
Prior to that, like I was fueling an addiction, really, you know? Like, I mean, I
Right.
didn't do things that were in alignment for who I am or what I wanted or a spiritual connection. None of that stuff was even on my radar. I was surviving.
Mm. And so the moment you got clean and you stopped with substance, you were able to feel divinely connected to your higher self. And
I wouldn't say it was the moment that it happened. I think
oh,
those things take time. I think
mm.
the moment I got sober, I was so uncomfortable in my own skin that it was hard for me to sit with myself. It was really hard. Like my thoughts, everything felt like it was against me. So, but through the journey of figuring out how to feel safe in that space and connecting with community and allowing time to pass to let me know like it's going to be okay. Like eventually I got to that space.
And so what kind of dance do you do?
I do pole and street heels mostly.
Ooh, did you say street hills? Heels?
Heels.
Heels? I
Yep.
I always have an issue with heels and heels, and I don't know, it's my silly accent, like, I just have the enunciation, issues. So, high heels.
Yes. Yes.
Ooh, and so tell me more about that.
So that was really like I remember being like super worried and super nervous about going into that space, but knowing I really wanted to. Like, the thing that happens for me when I'm by myself and feeling like inspired is like headphones go in, lights go out. I'm like dancing in front of a mirror. Like, that has been, my
Mm.
whole life, right? I used to think that when I was little, that if I would shut the bathroom door, nobody could hear me singing in the mirror, like belting out songs. Like, my parents had to think, like, this girl is like nuts, right? But I just like that's how I felt safe. And that's what I did to just be with myself from as long as I can remember. Like, I don't remember a lot of stuff about my childhood years, but I remember that piece. Like, I can feel it in my body. So movement and dance and exploration in that way has always been lived in me, but I lost touch with it for a really long time, or I didn't look at it through the same lens. Like, I didn't realize that it was inspiring me, and it was like connecting me, and it was grounding me, and I didn't realize the impact it was actually having on like my like nervous system, you know? It was allowing me to just be free and be present. And so going back into that space as like I think I was probably 3 years sober when I started dance, something
Mm.
ish, right? Something around that space. And so it took me a while to get the courage to actually like not just show up and try it once, but to like continue to show up and really sink into that space.
And that happened, and then what happened after that?
After that, it kind of, like I really found a home in myself. Like, I found the ability to show up in a new way and be brave and but and be authentic. I think more than anything, like, I think that's what it allowed me to do. It allowed me to be authentic and live my life out loud in a way that I had never done before.
Yeah, pole dancing is difficult. I mean, that's a lot of core strength.
It
What
is
made you turn to
difficult.
pole dancing?
I don't know. I feel like for me, that was just the thing. Like, that was what I was drawn to do. I think there's a piece of me that just like it always lived there. I had a piece of my story isn't in like sex work, but I have a lot of people in my circle that have that is a piece of their story. So it always existed in a capacity for me, but just not on a personal note. And so I think that there always was a piece of me that wanted to explore in that space, but I just had reservations, you know?
Mm, yeah, yeah. And would you say that through dance that brought about the sensuality piece?
So once I could recognize like what it felt like to have this home in myself and to be connected to my physical body in that way, and to allow that to sort of influence other parts of my life, I realized that like there was a bigger message there, and that I had the unique perspective of having gone through like tumultuous things to get to this journey, right? So it was like my story is a little bit more brutal than most people's, but that's what also makes it magnetic, right? It's a story of hope, and it breathes like fire back into hopeless situations. And I think that's the beautiful thing. And once I realized, you know, like sharing those things can help other people, right? That I can be of service by learning to talk about those things, and by learning to not be, I mean, because some people might, not some people, there's a huge stigma around like what pole dancing means or what it means to like be seen in a certain way. And so a gift that I have is that I feel comfortable enough to exist in that space, and, you know, and not carry that around, not carry the weight of other people's opinions.
Not carry any shame or guilt. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I think it's incredible. Me personally, I think it's incredible because I look at it as a fitness aspect. I've never done it. I do have a dear friend that has gone oftentimes. She never invites me. And I'm the type of person that I have to be invited to go
I
and
had to too. Like the one of the big ways that allowed me to actually show up was that I like clung to somebody that I knew that was doing it. And I was like, I want to come.
yeah,
I
I
wanna come.
have
But you
to.
can't back out because I won't go.
Right. If it is just me, I have a tendency to back out. But if someone invites me, I am more likely to go. But it is incredible for fitness. The
Yeah.
core, the shoulders, the arms, the whole body. There's a difference, though, there's a major difference between sensuality and sexuality. And I want to kind of talk about it. I I know that they overlap. They definitely overlap in a way because I feel like sensuality makes sexuality more present or more richer, more juicy, yummy. And when I have watched how you dance and the content that you have shared on social media, you seem way more sensual to me in your art than you are sexual, where it's like, I don't wanna say it's like, "Here, come have sex with me." Like, it doesn't look like you're saying, "Here, come have sex with me." It looks like you are sensuality is literally, like, the art of it,
Mhm.
the feeling of it, and it looks like you are fully embracing that. Give me your perspective on the 2 and how you combine the 2. I know that was really long and just trying to process it for myself, but yeah.
I think it can be both, right? I think one can lend to the other, but I feel like when I think of sensuality, I think of like our creativity, our life force, our like we can move in this flow state, right? So it's really tapping into that creative center. And now they can blend both ways. Like I'll give the example of like when we're dancing, right? We're dancing in front of mirrors, right? So you're doing it, it can be performative both ways, but who am I like dance when I'm in that space in a studio creating, I feel like I'm the audience and I'm the performer, right? So I get to live in both spaces and have a perspective of like a 360, like a whole perspective on how I'm how it feels to be in a certain way, also how it is perceived and how it looks on the other side of that. And really being able to blend those two perspectives feels super powerful. And when I think of like sexuality, it's often, you know, like I think that's super fiery and raw and like magnetic as well. But often that's performative in a different way, right? It is much more directed outwards, I think, than it is inwards. And I think that our experience in those places, and I agree, I think that if we utilize like our sexual prowess or power in a way that's like aligned with sensuality, we're much more likely to be doing things that are in alignment with how we want to move and what's going to, what's going to feel good and what's going to reflect in a way that's like authentic to who we are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think
because
there's value in both, right? There's value in both of those spaces, absolutely. And I really think just like figuring out like what is for just me? Like what piece of this can be just for me? And how do I exist in that space? And how do I like tap into that space? And how does that make me feel energetically? And then how does that make me project energetically? How then am I able to have an element of like agency in how other people can see me because I'm proud of what I'm emitting or I am fully present in that space?
yeah. Yeah. The Renaissance Woman course that I took with you, I really got the opportunity to look at myself and how I am presenting myself to the world, or how I have presented myself to the world. And it really shifted a lot for me. It was very profound because you guys talked about sensuality versus sexuality. And I think that we live in a society, and maybe not so much, maybe I'm an optimist, but that no, it's still there. Sexuality.
100%. Yeah.
Gosh, I'm such an optimist. I'm like, at some point, we're going to stop being these sexual beings
Objects.
that are, yeah, they're just like completely, you know, I don't know. So, yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm curious to hear you say how you looked at yourself differently in that space. How you felt before versus how you felt after.
Well, I mean, when I took that course, I had implants in my boobs and I had very large boobs, and that was, like if I wanted attention, I knew that, like wear something slinky or wear something tight, and I think it definitely subconsciously I was objectifying myself. I think once I got my implants removed, it made me dive more into the sensuality and focus more on the sensuality of the aliveness, the embodiment, the presence, the feeling pleasure to feel pleasure, not to maybe objectify or put myself out.
Or even to pleasure somebody else.
Yeah, to pleasure somebody else. Right. And it's about now pleasuring myself. How do I feel in my body? And it's really about how I'm feeling in my body now.
Yeah. And I think it's really, like it's really unique too. There can be so much power in that other space. There can be power in knowing that you can get what you want, that you can, like sex workers use that to earn a living, right? To have the control to be, there is so much power in that place. And I think it's, like it is a very valid and important piece to carry is like I feel I still value both of them in the same way. It's just how does it show up? Where does it show up? When does it show, like just
Right.
knowing like what space am I trying to get to? So I think that it's hard because we tie, like you say, you had your implants in, and we tie a piece of our identity to that, Like
Mhm.
there was a part of me that thought like, oh, if I can't use sex to get what I want, like what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well,
Um
I mean, hello, boobs. Like, I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, and they're perky and they look great and they're, they always look amazing
they don't
and
age.
huh?
They don't age.
No, they don't age whatsoever. They're not saggy, you know. But since having them out before I met my partner, I got really good at embodying that sensuality. And I mean, I still have the sexuality piece of me, but it is just not it is projected into only one space once I felt comfortable enough to allow myself to give that expression to him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But before that,
Vulnerable, right?
what'd you say?
It's vulnerable. It's
Yeah.
like it's a different, like there's a depth to it.
Yeah, it's definitely more in depth now than it has ever been because of the vulnerability for sure. Yeah, if you could give some advice to the women out there that maybe like me had lost that sense of sexuality and everyone's reasons is different, right? Um what kind of advice would you give someone out there that wants to gain back that sensuality and sexuality and have that perfect polarity and flow in their life?
I think first finding the thing that connects you. Like for me, it's dance. For me, it's movement, that kind of stuff. But I mean, it could be 100 different things for any number of people. So I think if you can explore, get curious about what it is, what that thing is for you that allows you to tap into that space, and then getting really clear on the fact that maybe it's not to find that again, but maybe it's to find it for the first time. And maybe it's to find it in a new way. Like I'm in my 40s now, right? So I think for me, it probably looks wildly different than it did in my 20s. And if I'm being honest, like I feel more like comfortable in my skin. I feel more like attractive. I feel more, like sensual, sexual, all of those things in this stage of my life than I've ever felt, than I've ever, I feel more confident here than I could have ever imagined. Cause I think we're all kind of sold this big lie that part of your identity dies in your 20s or whatever. And that has not been my experience. I'm sure for some people, maybe it is. I think it's how you see yourself too. It's great to recognize beauty in new ways. I thought when I was 20 that, I mean, you couldn't tell me anything either.
So, if someone wants to gain their sensuality and sexuality back, maybe they have lost touch with it, what are some recommendations that you have to be able to do that?
Yeah, I think it's important that everybody recognizes that what connects you to that space is different for everyone. So for me, it's dance and movement. For you, it likely looks very different. And so doing some exploration and getting curious, I think is really important as you start that journey. Also honoring the fact that it might not be getting back to that space. It might be arriving at that space for the first time. It might
Mm.
be arriving at that space in a new way as a new version of yourself in a new body, like every every unique situation approaches this space in a different way. I mean, let's think at one point somebody's able-bodied and they, are they suffer some form of disability. Where's the home in this new body of mine? There's just so many unique circumstances and often we're not in control of a lot of them. So it's really an exploration that sort of is timeless. It looks very different in your 20s than it does in your 40s. I'm in
Yeah.
my 40s and I feel more in alignment, more confident, more connected to my body than I ever have. And that's not the narrative that I was sold in my earlier years. I assumed that everybody said sort of demonized this era of life as you're old, you're not relevant, you're not a sensual or sexual being anymore. And that has not been my experience. So sort of rewriting that narrative and that history as well.
Yeah. A lot of things start happening to our bodies though in our 40s too, like 48, where your kind of sexual drive can start disappearing. And if you have that your sexual drive is starting to disappear, I highly recommend that you check on your hormones because it
Yes.
it is probably not you, meaning your soul essence. It could be something chemically, your hormones being lacking in some areas.
And like
Yeah,
how like blessed are we that we have things like bioidentical hormones and hormone replacement therapy, stuff that we have options now. I still believe that like the medical field does not value or treat women's health in the way that they should, but I think that we have some pretty monumental like progress, most of it being in that hormone field where we're allowed to like feel like ourselves again and not live in this space where everything is just taking us outside of our bodies because we're so uncomfortable.
yeah, I mean, for years they told us that, hormones were really bad for us, and I'm not gonna say that they're necessarily good for us, 'cause for some people, maybe they're not, but for me personally, I have great experience with them and they have helped me. And we do have a lot of incredible thought leaders and scientists and doctors that are giving us the information and sharing the information. Now, I mean, you look all over the place and it's talking about perimenopause and menopause and all of these womanly moments that we have, and everyone's talking about it now. Take your creatine.
That's good though, like remove the stigma of what it
Yeah.
means to be in a female body. Like my relevancy stops when I stop being able to produce a child. Or that's just such dated and those are old concepts that were really never useful. It was about controlling women's bodies. It was about all the reasoning behind that was to hold people back, not to lift them up.
Yeah. And now it is about really feeling good no matter what, like feeling that sensuality and sexuality in life. It is passion whenever you feel it. It is legit passion. It is the God coming into you and filling your body up with just it's light because you feel connected to your body. You feel pleasure, you feel erotic energy, fantasy, physical intimacy, with sexuality. Sexuality is such a beautiful quality to have. It's active, creative, magnetic, and the beautiful thing is that especially if you have someone that you're attracted to, you can direct that energy toward them and become in union with that life force through intimacy.
Yeah,
And
and
then
if you have that connection to yourself in a sensual way, then you're able to do it authentically versus like performatively, like you get to show up and actually be in those moments.
yeah, it's funny that you say that. You have to have it towards yourself first. I love that. And I say it's funny that you say that because I felt that. If you don't have it towards yourself first, when that person and you are no longer together, that will be lost with you.
And it like devalues you, like a piece of your worth is tied up in that. So you have to then, like how do you rebuild this in a new way? But if you already own that, like it's never lost, right?
Yeah. It's never lost. Yeah, it's always with you, even when they go away or they're there. And then the sensuality piece, to feel the pleasure and aliveness and embodiment and to be fully present in life. And people pick up on that energy. Don't you think?
Yes.
It's because it feels like you're in tune to your inner rhythm and people are attracted
I was
to
gonna say
it.
it's attractive. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they want to know what is kind of like going on for you. I have one friend that she is she is sensual and she is sexual and everywhere we go when I am with her, first thing first is because both of us are on that playing field of sensuality and sexuality together. We feel that when we're in each other's presence. People often think that we're a couple.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, we are not a couple. Like, we're friends. But I mean, there have been at every single time we've gone out. And actually, we just stay home a lot of times because and when we're at home, we dance and we move and we sing.
Have fun.
We have fun. There's nothing sexual between her and I. It's just we live in that free love energy of feeling desire.
And I think that can be such like a healthy mirror to somebody, right? Like it's good to be able to see yourself in that way because and I think that's a big piece of, are you comfortable putting yourself out in the world in this way? Like you because it often does elicit opinions, right? So I put my videos and stuff online and I get a lot of unwanted like messages from mostly men,
Yeah.
from people, that are completely sexualizing me and my mission and what I'm doing. But I'm okay with it because I would rather move forward in a way that feels authentic to me, in a way that allows other women to maybe be brave in a way that they want to but can't, or to like see something in a new way. I will allow in some criticism. I'll allow in some like unwanted commentary and behavior because I have the ability to not take that on and it not stifle me and not stand in the way of how I want to move in this world. And I think if you have people who allow you to be in that space, it holds a mirror to you in a way that I always want to be that mirror to people as well. And be like you get to do what makes you feel alive in the same way.
Without judgment.
Well, oftentimes with judgment, right? But you don't have to like
Well,
you don't
I'm
have to
saying
you don't have to take it on.
without
Yeah.
judgment of yourself,
Yeah.
because that's the only judgment is without judgment of yourself.
Yeah. And that's the piece that matters.
Yeah. Who gives a fuck what other people say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that
Literally.
a lot of us do at times, right? I'm not going to say that there's never some times where it gets to me if my
Right.
like defenses are a little bit lower. I'm like in my cycle and my emotional body is
Mm,
unbalanced or like whatever these other reasons. But the reality is that I find my way through that and decide over and over again to keep going. Like maybe I'll decide not to do that at some point too. And that gets to be like my choice of
right.
what I decide to do moving forward.
Well, I want you to know I find you very inspiring. I am in immense gratitude for the work that you do with women on helping them reclaim their body, coming into their body, allowing themselves to have sensuality and sexuality with no shame and no opinion on themselves about it except for love of self. We're in this human experience where both of those are divine. I mean, they feel great. Why would we ever not want to give ourselves that? So, thank you so much, Erin, for coming on for journeying with me during this last about 45 minutes. I am in immense gratitude for everything you do. And is there anything else you want to share?
No, I just really appreciate the opportunity to sort of talk about some things that people don't talk about and maybe like give way to the opportunity to explore in new ways and to be curious in ways that like really bring us home to ourselves, that really we can find a home in ourselves. And it's such a beautiful thing. And everyone has access to it, no matter, what our circumstances are. And I think that's the important piece, that everyone's welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who knows, your sensuality and sexuality may lead to more sex. And who doesn't need more sex?
Yeah.
Everybody needs more sex.
Totally.
And if you don't think that you need more sex, science says that you do.
There you go. I'm doing it for science.
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing it to make myself feel good. So thank you, everyone, for showing up today and sharing space with Erin and I. If you want more information on how to follow Erin, check in the show notes. Erin, your Instagram is an open account, right?
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you can follow Erin on Instagram at Penske
No, it's Picket Fenske.
Picket
So it's
Fence.
yeah.
Okay,
So it's
spell
my
it
name.
out.
It's just my name. It's Erin Fenske is my name. You can do at Picket Fenske, PICKET FENSKE.
Okay. Thank you so much, Erin.
Uh,
And if you guys like this episode, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a review, and we look forward to sharing space with you next time. Have a fabulous day.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today on Collective Guidance. I hope you feel lighter, more inspired, and deeply connected to your own path. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Collective Guidance or our website, collectiveguidance.com. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, may you walk with clarity, courage, joy, and love.